You can't delegate, you can't systemize, and you definitely can't bring in AI or get your team to actually run parts of your business for you. And it's not because you hired the wrong people or you have the wrong tools. It is simply because you skipped a step that everyone needs before all of that can actually happen. And until you fix this, nothing that you add into your business is going to work. Most founders think they have a delegation problem. Most of them end up lobbing the ball over to the other side of the court. They think they have a team problem and it's all on that side of the fence. Or they think they just need some better software. Or in this day and age, as they get inundated with all of the new AI tools that are available, they think they just need a new tech stack. I promise you don't have any of these problems and none of them are going to actually fix what you're actually going through. You actually have a clarity problem. Here's what I mean. Look, every single system that you try to install in your business, every new person that you try to hire, every AI tool that you try to plug in, it all gets built on top of your offers. And if that offer is not clearly defined, if you're rebuilding it from scratch every single time that you sign a new client, then there's nothing stable underneath all of it. And you cannot scale your business effectively or efficiently. That's why the hire didn't stick. That's why the SOPs are getting rebuilt every single day and you have a Google Drive full of outdated versions. That's why hiring more teams feels like it's just the weight of the world being carried on your shoulders. You added more people to a business that was already built on chaos. You cannot extract what you've never clearly defined in the first place. So today I'm going to walk you through the 7 steps of productizing your services. This is what you need before you can do anything else in your business to actually scale it effectively. This is one of the starting points in CEO foundations where systems, delegations, performance, and even AI come to play, make nice, and make your life a lot easier. So step number 1, look, you've got to define your offers with surgical clarity, and you've got to think about it from your client's side of the journey. What is your offer? Who do you serve? What are you delivering exactly? And how are you going to actually deliver it? You've got to write that down. You've got to get it out of your head. This is why this matters so much. Look, you cannot templatize, productize, or systemize anything that is living in your head. And you certainly can't delegate and expect someone else to actually understand what it would look like to be successful in serving your clients or creating a stellar client experience. You cannot hand off anything that changes with every single new client that you sign. And here's how you're going to do that. Look, first you're going to name your offer. Then you're going to name the outcome that you're trying to create by delivering these services. You're going to list out all of the deliverables that you are actually giving your client. And by the way, this is going to help you scope out your services so you can get rid of that nasty scope creep that always seems to show up in service-based businesses where our clients expect more than we actually have time to deliver. And now I want you to list out what exactly is included and what's not, and what that would mean for both you, your team, and your client. This is where it all starts, really. It doesn't start with your first hire, your first virtual or executive assistant. It doesn't start with your software or your tech stack. It starts by getting everything out of your brain and getting it written down in very specific documentation. We actually want to eventually get this into our single source of truth, but we'll talk more about that later. You've got to define who it's for, how you're going to deliver it, and what your boundaries actually are. Step number 2, you've got to map out the full client journey end to end. Look, almost no one does this. And I think it's one of the most valuable things that you can do to get all that stuff out of your head and make sure that you're actually delivering upon the experience that you want to for your clients. And trust me, I think client experience is the thing that sets you apart in the marketplace. It is your true differentiator. So how do we do this? Look, once you have a clearly defined offer, I want you to sit down and actually map out the entire relationship that a client should have with you. And that can mean that they're moving through multiple programs. What is the arc of that entire relationship with you end to end from the time they first meet you all the way until you know that they've outgrown everything it is that you have to offer? Most founders have never done this. And I think it's one of the most valuable practices that you can actually do, both for your business as a whole and for each individual offer. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Step number 3, I want you to break that map down and do it for each individual offer or program that you have. Take that big picture, zoom in a little bit, and then map out the journey of a client in each individual program. What happens at kickoff? What happens during the onboarding process? What happens during your ongoing services? And what happens in the handoff to a new program, the upsell opportunity, the referral? This one, if it is done correctly, has a huge payoff for both you and your business. The payoff for you is you're going to be able to clearly delegate to every single person in your business what exactly it is that you expect of them. The payoff for your client is you're going to be able to outline very clearly what they should expect from you and when, so that you can clearly communicate it to them. I'm going to say this one more time for all those people in the back. Your client experience in this super crowded market with very low barriers of entry, it is your true differentiator. It is the thing that is going to set you apart. Take the time to go through this. So step number 4, I want you to convert those touch points into repeatable tasks and a productized template that you can live in your project management system. Look, this is the step where that practice of mapping out your client journey can turn into a visual map and representation of what it is that you actually want to do for your clients. And this is where you can take it and put it into your project management system so that you have a templatized version of your services. So that with every new client that signs, now you are just duplicating over that template. You're assigning out the tasks and the due date, and you can put directives directly into your project management system that will allow others to perform key parts of your services for you in the future. And this is how you start defining success for those key team members on your team. And helpful in here, as we move through this a little bit further, you're going to find out that there are some AI tools and prompts that you can use to actually manage this for you. Now, step number 5. I want you to identify all the things that don't require you. Look, you do not have to personalize every single part of the client engagement. And in fact, you don't have to be involved in much of the client engagement at all if you can successfully turn it over to others. So many of us think that because of our knowledge and expertise, we are the only ones who can do certain things. It's just not true. You just haven't learned how to actually effectively turn it over to someone else and describe what good would look like. So now I want you to go back through that map of the client journey. I want you to go through everything that you've templatized. What could you actually hand off to others? Start with the things that you just really don't like to do, that drain your energy, that you've outgrown. How could you actually effectively hand this off to someone else? How could you make a short video or a short description around what it is that you do and start to train someone else to do it for you? This is the moment when delegation can stop becoming so scary. And when you start to realize offshore talent, including virtual and executive assistants, could actually handle some of this for you. Now you won't be guessing at what's happening. You won't have everything living in your head. You're going to actually be able to effectively hand it off and see if your team's actually completing it and on time. Step number 6. This is where you're going to install real team ownership and start to learn to operate by agreements. Look, here's where most founders get stuck. It's not a people problem. It's not a them problem. It's just that most of us have never developed a standard that we can actually point to and say, this is what I want you to do and how I want you to do it. Once your touch points are mapped out, once they're tagged, once they're living in your project management system, once you're putting in the description exactly what it means to perform that specific task, once you start to define what it would look like for them to actually own key parts of the engagement and to actually create measurable metrics that determine performance and give you something objective to speak into, that's when you can really move the needle on your team actually building your business for you. And step number 7, now it's time for the fun part. Now's when we can layer in AI to actually help us increase the productivity of the people on our team. I always say that AI cannot replace actual people and physical bodies on your team, but it can increase their productivity and make it so that they don't have to ping you with questions on repeat. Everyone wants to skip the step of hiring a VA or an EA or key team members to be on their team. They now are looking to AI to replace these people. But there's a lot of things that AI cannot do. So I actually say, once you get this type of clarity, this is when you can create that documentation and some key roles in your AI platform, hand it off to your VA or EA and get them to actually learn to start to operate like you. I mean, How powerful is that? How much time could you free up by transferring your knowledge in this way? So start with the items that are easiest and lowest risk and start to learn to turn those over first. And then as you get super comfortable with it, you can start to turn over more and more to your EA or VA. And you'll start to look for opportunities to develop out further agents. The thing that I use most for this is I give my executive assistant access to Claude. I have made sure that they have access to Claude. We have the team set up so that at all times, they have all of the context that lives inside my brain dumped into our system. We also have a very clear way to operate within it. And the fact that there are AI CSMs for every single client that I have operable within Claude. Look, so many people think that key elements of your business, the people, the tech stack, the systems, the processes, the operations as a whole, finance, they're all disconnected and they don't marry up in some way. I am here to tell you that they are married and they are all intertwined and they all have a direct effect and impact on other areas of your business. So once you start to fix some of this and you start to see that productization and systemization, so once you start to make some of these key fixes, you're going to see a number of things get better in your business. Number one, the overall client experience, which means you will be putting out less fires. Number two, you're going to start to see your margins increase because the utilization rate is going to go up. The more that you can use your executive assistant or virtual assistant or other key team members to handle key parts of your business, the higher your margins will be. Most founders don't actually put their time in as an actual cost of the business, but there is a real cost to it. So not only are you getting time, your most valuable asset back, you're also producing a real cost savings to your business. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just one link in the chain. Again, there's a real ripple effect when you start to fix these small things that you're going to see, and your business and scaling it efficiently and effectively is going to get easier and easier. This is how you start to build a business where you don't have to be in the center of it all. Look, if you know your business is depending on you way too much and that you're the actual bottleneck that is stalling its growth, I have a newsletter that I send out every single week with key tips and tricks on how to start to break free from that place where you're the bottleneck. Go ahead and check the link in the description and go ahead over to the newsletter, subscribe there. And again, you'll get access to free tips and tricks on how to stop being the bottleneck in your own business.